All right.
Hey guys, this is Dawn, aka Professor D, and I'm here with one of our amazing team members who helped us out with this year's Indigitous Hack 2022 NYC at Alliance University. So I just want to take some time just to chat it up with him and talk about what the experience was like, how he got involved, some of the things that he's working on, how you guys can stay in touch. So if you guys like this and enjoy it, just let us know. You can reach out professor.d.nyc at gmail.com or hang out on our Discord, and we'll get you all the information you need to do or you need to get to make it work. All right. So, Joe,
Yes.
good to hang out with you. It's been like so long. I don't know if you're going to talk a little bit about pre-hack, but
Right.
again, I just really want to thank you for just taking the time, to like hang out today, but also just to help out with this hackathon. I mean, it's a dream come true. This is something that I know personally I want to see come to fruition in New York City for a long time. Hack's been running since 2016. It's been running all around the world.
Mm.
And it could not have happened without you, without the design team, without our partners. So I wanted to say thank you very much because without you, we'd be talking about Hack 2023, right? So
Right. Right.
I'm eternally grateful, probably more than you'll ever know. But tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us how you found out about Hack and how you end up getting involved.
Sure. Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to assist you with this hackathon because it's I've always been on the other side of hackathons, trying to actually build things and create
Mhm.
things. This is really my first time helping and assisting. And I know you and I have gone back for a little while. I know how we met was through the original, well, not original, but it's been years for the Indigenous hackathon that we had here in Atlanta.
Right,
And
right.
so it's been great just kind of staying in touch and then kind of do something together, so that's great. But just a little bit about me. So my name is Joe Sumpter. I am actually CTO of a company called techlevitate, which is a gaming and innovation studio here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's a part-time endeavor that I do for building games and innovative projects. So that's kind of how it relates to hackathons, because I'm always looking
Mhm.
at ways to explore and experiment with new technologies. So I mean, that's really been one of the things that I've been focused on here in the last, I would say, 8 years or so, just kind of
Wow.
innovation.
Mhm.
I work for a Fortune 500 as well on the innovation team that kind of mixes both hardware and software. So just kind of staying in that innovative space is something that I've been interested in. So just as far as my background, I've been in software development for around 20 years. I've been worked for nonprofits and Fortune 500 and startups. So I've done a lot of different projects, and this was fun. This is one of
Mhm.
those things where, you know, um, it's always great to hack for the Lord, right? And trying to find ways to serve in just a different way. I used to be an
Mhm.
IT director as a church as well, so
Mhm.
I've built technology for church, and I've been on the other side of trying to find people to assist with that, which is
Right.
a challenge at times. So this is a fun project to find and see people who want to serve and want to build something that's going to support Christ, as well as it being innovative and different and fun versus being reading the Bible and then sit together and work that way. This is something I found that is great to push the envelope of what we can do and how we can reach people.
Yeah.
So I was really excited to be a part of this, and I appreciate you, allowing me to help. And
No,
it's a great
listen.
experience for me.
Everybody's been so humble and keeps saying, "Yeah, I appreciate you," but like it's absolutely true. Without you, without the team, it just wouldn't have gotten done. And yeah, you and I met at at the time it was called Code for the Kingdom, right? I think
Right,
that's it. Yeah,
right.
I still have my
Yeah,
shirt. I still have my
yeah.
shirt.
You still have it?
I
Okay,
still
gotcha.
have it. I literally would like when I went to the in London, James Stock and the team, they have it. It's called Build out there, but it's
Okay.
all connected. And I think the first one I wore the Code for the Kingdom shirt. He's like, "Wow, that's OG. Like you really have to." Yeah, I came to represent. So
Right.
what was so awesome about both events was just being able to have an excuse to get out and travel right to Atlanta, and
Yes.
also to London. But it's one of those things. And I know you and I kept in touch and we talked about it, bringing one to New York and even doing some cross border activity. And it's just a blessing that it finally came to fruition. I mean, it's been several years of asking and trying to get partners and trying to get people who would, be willing to help out. And
Right.
I guess 2022 is the year the Lord said, let's do it. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm definitely looking forward to us being able to continue, keep the ball rolling. I'm already thinking about 2023. So I'm going to already tell you, you've already got your invitation to work alongside me. So
Hey, it's funny because one thing, like you said, you came over to the one in Atlanta. Like I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York City. And so like I said, certain things you see how they come together and how
yeah,
there's just ways that we have synergies and way we can work together and how God puts things together as well. I think it's just great. So
yeah.
I'm always willing to help, where I can. I'm crazy busy, but I'm always willing to help.
You are, I mean, and that's the thing too that was just awesome. We talk about like finding projects to work on and collaborate. And I think the thing that really blessed me too was, you're a family man, you're like working for a really big company. I won't say the name unless you want to say it.
Right.
Um, and you're always, every time I talk to you, you're working on some interesting project, or you're, you know, doing something with Tech Levitate, or you're putting up YouTube channel
Right.
content. Don't forget to mention that. Okay. Throw you out a little plug there. And, one of the things I was praying about actually during the hackathon, even before and even after, surprisingly, it's still kind of busy. But it was just like, Lord, help us not to be so busy that we don't take time for you, right? Like doing these
Right.
things feels more, I don't know. You want to commit because you're doing it for the Lord, but it's also like sometimes you can be so busy that you don't take time out, right?
Right.
I have a little confession. So during the event, like you're running around and trying to keep things going, making sure everything's going okay. And through the schedule, I had it where we're supposed to pray, like when we started,
Yeah.
pray before we let everyone leave, typical stuff. I think I did not pray with any. I might pray, but I didn't pray with the group, and I felt so bad.
Right.
And then Grace Matthews, who's the vice president of special projects at Alliance University, she said, "Well, no, Roger, and that's her husband, who's the president of the university." She said he prayed. Remember, we did pray collectively, and I was like, "Okay, I feel so much better." But it's just so easy to get
Yeah.
busy, and
Oh,
to,
absolutely.
even when you're doing things for the church, for the Lord. So those are notes I made to myself, like make sure I pray. But I want to
Right.
ask you, being that you balance so much, like how do you, and we're a little sidetracked here, but how do you deal with so much and keep your focus in terms of your relationship with Christ?
It's to be honest with you, it's extremely challenging because it's like you say a little bit. I have three kids. They're all doing different things. I have my full time job, and then I'm doing this stuff on the side, and that's just those three things. There's a bunch of other stuff that's going on, and so it's really you have to focus. Like you have to actually like me. I have like I use the Bible app for
Mhm.
example and do a daily devotional with that. And when you're going, one thing when you have so much going on you're going to have challenges, whether it's, time, whether it's
Mhm.
anxiety, whether it's your kids are going through stuff. So you need to actually have that time you're going to set aside time to focus on the Lord because you need the Lord to get you through certain things, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so like I said, I'm a technology guy. So the Bible app works well for me. I can set notification. I think they have plans you can follow as well. So I
Mhm.
use that for one of my primary things. And then, like I said, for us, one of the challenges has been getting to church, especially once COVID hit. Everything got shut down and all that type of stuff. So again, taking advantage of technology, using we have a church that we go through over here, and so they have their YouTube channel and they have their the services and stuff online, and they have ways you can interact that way. So we'll leverage that as well if we can't physically get in the building. So just trying to find ways to stay connected
Mhm.
and also through having like friends who are Christian, friends who are believers, because they're like, I have one of my friends, he sends me, he'll be reading a book or something or reading something in the Bible, and he's sending me text messages of like, hey, this is this is what
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what was the Lord told me today, you know what I mean? And so getting that, and we're going back and forth and we're shooting
Right.
messages, so doing that stuff kind of helps and keeping it connected, because it's just like you said, it's just a lot going on, and there's always
Yeah.
something going on. So
And Joe, you're so gracious because I won't put out your business, but I know you were going through quite a bit. I was paying attention, and you always have a smile on your face, like I always, right? I think I feel the smile even like in text messages. Like I don't know, just you're always smiling, and which is a good thing. And I know that this has been kind of almost everyone in the team, had something that they were dealing with.
Mhm.
And I think that's another reason why it just meant so much to me. And this experience is one I'll take with me in memory to the grave because I know you said when you're judging, you're trying to deal with being sick and trying to look, healthy and happy and
Right.
and I didn't even know. I mean, I hate to tell you this, but I almost forgot you were looking so good, right? Like I'm like, oh, he's great, and it was only like,
It's
oh
like he's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, right. But I mentioned that because I think it also like a lot of people who came to the hackathon who were participating, they didn't have experience programming. They didn't ever. None of them had been to a hackathon. A few people have, but most of them had not. Um, and it was just interesting to see how people were, either settling in or finding teams. And we had one person in particular, JP, who was on team Ecclesia Seed, and I think the energy, that he brought, the energy that you brought as a judge,
Right.
with the smiles, I think people can forget that hackathons or anything that's new can be a bit intimidating. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Even something smaller, right? Like I was telling people, like this not TechCrunch disrupt from like, the 2000s, but it
Right.
still can be really intimidating. People don't know what to expect. And, who knows what would happen on someone's way to getting to the event. So it was really nice to just kind of have that welcoming,
Mm.
experience with everyone, you serving as a judge online, and even, some of the folks that were there. And it actually blessed me. It helped me to settle down too, because, these things get started and you're just running around and you're hoping everything's perfect. And where's the food and where's
Oh
this and where's
yeah.
that?
Right.
So I just want to thank you for that. I think that's really encouraging. What did you think? What did you think of the teams that were, that had presented in terms of their overall projects and just the fact that a lot of them came with no previous hackathon or programming experience?
Yeah, I think that was one of the key things that I was actually surprised about because they were able to get together. I mean, you got to think this is a short hackathon. It's 48 hours, and you're trying to get something that you can actually present and that actually potentially works, like you can kind of walk through. And so I thought that both of them did a really great job in getting that together. They took advantage of the tools like Figma and some of the graphic artist tools and stuff like that to at least get their story together and to
Right.
present it well. And from what I can tell, it seemed like they were working well together as a team. I mean, I'm remote, so I couldn't see, but it seemed
Mhm.
like just based on the result that they were able to, get everything together, be able to have a cohesive message and be able to click through and show something. And even one of them got the API connectivity
Yeah.
working. So, I
Yeah.
mean, for teams that did not have any hackathon experience, I thought they did really well because I've been in hackathons where we can get bogged down in trying to talk through things or trying to overproduce something
Right.
where you don't really get a full story or a full application working because you focus too much on trying to get everything so pretty and working well.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to get through that and understood that and get something presented that looked good, I thought they did great. And so
Yeah.
I was impressed by that with the teams and how they did. So
Yeah. Me too. I think the other thing is that was also impressive was so JWALK, they had three more than three people initially on the team, but the three that presented pretty much stayed.
mhm,
And what was interesting about their sort of how they work together is they seem to be trying to walk through things pretty much until like I think 11 when we said, hey, if you're not going to stay overnight, feel free to leave and come back.
right.
But they got quite a bit accomplished, and technically it was a little bit over 24 hours because they started at 5 and then
Right.
we went to about 6 o'clock the next day. Whereas the other team had more people, right? They had like 5 people on there, and they ended up, just kind of literally starting like sticky notes all the way through.
Right.
Now they did have someone on the team who had been to several hacks, so that was really, really helpful. But
Okay.
it was just phenomenal to see, how both teams sort of work together. I didn't see no one had to come in and separate anyone, thank God. Like nobody was, there's nobody
Right.
rolling on the floor, choking each other out. So that was good. That would be
Right.
crazy, right? Christian hack.
I know. Can you imagine that? But wait, think about what you would have had to do. You're like, okay, well,
How
how would
you
I
gonna
solve that?
yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen that happen, but I have seen arguments. So,
Yeah.
thank God we didn't have that. But it was interesting. Now, talking to the teams, and one Ecclesia Seed won for most complete project,
Right.
JWALK won for most complete project with use of API or open source. And both two groups are excited to continue the project and start building an MVP. Do you
Mhm.
have any suggestions about, one, how to just continue to work as a team? Should they do that? And two, like what should they be looking at to try to move this further along?
Well, so a couple things. So I know one, as far as like working together as a team, or trying to figure out how to make that work. I think part of that is trying to establish a good form of communication as a team going
Hmm.
forward. Like for us, we use Slack and we use Teams, and we have all these different tools for doing that. But just trying to get on the same page together as a team, and how you're going to communicate, and then who is kind of going to drive that communication, I think is key. A second thing I would look at is, I know, it's a hackathon. I think part of it was utilizing one of the tools that was one of our sponsors, who are able to provide their API for them to use. I forget their name, but
Very
um,
helpful.
yeah, there you go, helpful. Yeah. And so trying to connect with that sponsor, I think, is one thing, especially for JWalk,
Mhm.
because they actually use their API, to see if they can kind of assist them, and just their thought process on how to leverage the API is
Right.
one thing. And then the second thing is trying to find what do you call this? I call it social proof, but it's really just trying to get feedback on the concept and the idea from
Right.
the actual people who would be using it.
Right.
Right. Because
Right.
I think in doing that, you're going to reduce the amount of development effort that you're going to do initially.
Mhm.
I think one of the challenges, I know, even with JWalk, one of the things they talked about was they had a lot of ideas and a lot of
Yes.
things they can, and so
Yeah.
that can take you down a lot of rabbit holes.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think doing that and kind of getting engaged with some of the users, I call it focus groups maybe, but I wouldn't even say that. I would just say just kind of reach out and talk to some of the users and try to figure out who's going to be, if you can get 10 people who can experiment on your platform to start
Right.
off with, and then you kind of reduce it to getting them using the platform,
Right.
then that'll keep your scope narrowed down to what is the actual problem you're solving,
Right.
and then how are you going to solve at least the basis of that problem with your MVP.
Right.
So so that's some tips I would say with doing that. The other thing is, I think that if I remember right, both teams didn't really have like tech leads or people who were like developers on their
Right.
team.
Right.
So I think trying to find someone who can
Mhm.
help with that early on
Right.
would be great. And that's, again, reaching out to the community. I know that we can get I'm sure the Indigenous team and some other people can get some other people, or even putting like a GitHub and making it more open source,
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
help with that. So getting a developer or two who can assist as far as laying out your tech stack early on, or or looking at some of the no code solutions,
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
build that first wave of the application, is something I would
Right.
recommend as well.
Gotcha.
Just because that way you don't you build it in a way that's somewhat scalable, going, with at least scalability in mind as you're
Right.
going forward. So that way you don't get yourself stuck in something you can't get out of down the road.
Exactly.
So yeah, so those are some things that I would, think about as teams, and and see where they can go from there. But I think that there's like both projects, I like both projects. So I think that they can get some traction and get some people behind it if they if they get some sponsors or some developers and stuff behind
Yeah.
them.
That's going to be helpful. I'm sure they're going to be grateful to have that feedback. I want to turn the attention to you because we have a few minutes,
Right.
and I want to make sure we talk a little bit about, what are you working on these days, or what about technology, or what particular technologies excite you? And
Mhm.
also, how can people like follow what you're doing and stay in touch? And I'm going to throw it out again. You do have a YouTube channel, Tech
Right.
Levitate. Okay, don't forget that.
Yes.
So yeah, tell us, what are you up to, and how can people stay in touch?
All right. So for me right now, what I'm up to is I'm actually trying to build my gaming studio, Tech Levitate. So what that involves is actually building a couple of games in Unity.
Mm.
I have a game called Kitty Cat Match 3, Kitty Cat Breakout. There's kind of like fun games that kind of have I would say cat themes with like urban beats, and kind of leveraging I know Kitty Cat Pastry is more of a Candy Crush type of clone, and there's another one, and the other one's more of a breakout older game. So we're looking at different ways to build innovative games that kind of relate to existing games right now. So that's one thing that I'm looking at now. The other thing I'm working on is I have a couple of sports apps that I'm working on now. One's called Sports Squares, which is basically a fantasy sports office pool that you play using a grid of squares. I think people, if you look up the game Football Squares, it kind of explains it. It's really from, well, I don't want to go too deep in it. If you look up Football Squares, you'll understand what it means. And so looking at that, and then looking at another one called Sports Pick'em that I'm doing with my brother, where you're basically picking games, fantasy games, and trying to play and get and earn coins. Right. So we're using some Web3 technology. I'm looking at NFTs, looking at blockchain, and building some of the tokens with some of the coins there. So those are the things that I'm kind of playing around with right now. And then finally, one of the other things I'm looking at as far as Web3 is looking at AR and VR. So I'm working with a third party to build, to take that Match 3 game that I mentioned and put it on an AR glass, kind of AR glasses. So it's kind of leveraging. If you think of like Facebook just announced their new version of Quest, Quest Pro, I think is what it is, and so this is sort of a competitor to that in the Indian market where they're building, but it's going to be more AR driven for smart glasses. So playing around with that stuff is kind of what I'm experimenting with of late. Really to find out what I'm working on and what I'm doing. As you mentioned, my YouTube channel, Techlevitate, is where you can find me if you search for that. I also have an Instagram for Techlevitate as well, where I'm trying to post more information about some of the stuff that I'm working on, and just some of the things I'm trying to experience. Like, for example, CES is coming in January, so I should be there looking at some of the newer tech and sharing information on that. So yeah, follow me there at techlevitate.com or my YouTube channel or in Instagram. That's the best places to find me.
Awesome. Joe, thank you so much. You know, I'm always happy to chat with you, but I'm especially happy we finally got to collab together. Like, finally, I don't know how many years it's been. I don't want to say it. You see the gray coming in, so it's been a while.
We were talking about it for a long time, so I'm glad we were able to finally get on there, and we're going to keep it going, right?
I had way less gray hair back then, man. It's never again.
Hey,
never
you and me
again.
both. You see here, like I don't think this was here.
Yeah, but you know, you're distinguished. It's distinguished.
Oh, sure.
Right?
That's the nice way of saying you're old, but okay.
Listen, try sitting in a hackathon and everybody, like I'll say this real quick before we get off. Of the rest of the team that was working with us from my side, not Alliance, Travis, Trevon, and Kayla are all former students or people I knew when, like, I knew Travis when he was in high school, and he's got 3 kids now, right?
Wow.
So I'm like, yeah, just the time goes.
Time flies.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, but we're blessed, right? We're blessed.
Yeah. Listen, not everyone gets to get to the point where they have some gray hair, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I'm happy for the grays.
We'll say that's what it is. We'll say I'll say that's what it is for the camera. It's okay. But listen, let's definitely make sure you stay in touch. Everyone, you've heard how you can keep in touch with Joe. You heard how you can follow what he's doing. I think it's super exciting. Please keep a look on the games. And also, if you do want to follow what we're doing in terms of Hack 2022, NYC, and 23, and anything in between, feel free to hang out with us on our Discord or send us an email. And we'll have some social media up as well at some point. So you guys take care, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.